Golden Spiral Media presents The Blacklist Exposed.
Hello, special agents. You have come to the right place. Welcome to The Blacklist Exposed. I am Agent Troy Heinrichs. We are here with a special edition of The Blacklist Exposed with our Season 1 special archive episodes. The following episode appeared on the TV Talk Network for Season 1 of The Blacklist, and we're bringing it to you here on The Blacklist Exposed, remastered and used with permission from TV Talk. We hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy this special episode from Season 1.
You're tuned in to TV Talk, The Blacklist. Welcome to TV Talk, America's #1 TV talk show network. And now it's time for TV Talk, The Blacklist.
Well, allergy season is around the corner, so when you blow your nose, don't accidentally blow it clean off. Welcome to TV Talk, The Blacklist. I'm Troy.
And I'm Dave, here to discuss number 135 on the Blacklist, Milton Bobbit, airing March 31st, 2014.
Hey, TV Talk listeners, amazing news. You can now get great rewards just for watching your favorite TV shows and listening to music. Go to Viggle.com/TV Talk to download the free Viggle app. Use Viggle to check into any TV show or song and earn Viggle points. Redeem for music and movie downloads, gift cards, electronics, and more. By the way, TV Talk listeners get a special offer. Go to Viggle.com/TV Talk to learn more about this great offer and download the free Viggle app now. So, this evening we got a really interesting story, I think, because we thought we were going to get more Liz and Tom action based on the previews from last week, Dave, and instead we got treated to a guy basically nuking himself under some tanning lights.
Yeah, and we still got some good Liz and Tom action, but definitely more emphasis on the actual Blacklister this time around. And it's a good thing because it was a very interesting Blacklister.
Yeah, I think we've kind of gone away from the cases of the Blacklister being a little bit more creepy and his motives being a little bit kind of off the beaten path into some kind of normalcy over the last couple weeks. This one kind of gives me the throwback of like earlier episodes like the Stew Maker and some of those guys from the beginning. And I thought his motives were actually kind of endearing in a way because he actually tried to get to know the, I guess we call them killer assassins or assassins that want to be killed.
They're kind of hard to describe, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, I had to play it back twice because I was like, did he say like murder, suicide? What does that mean? Murder, suicide?
Well, it's kind of like suicide bombers, but the suicide bombers have a good motive for what they're doing.
Or at least they're being convinced. So
that they have a good motive, yeah.
Right. So I mean, if anything, Milton is basically a really good manipulator at the end of the day. I mean, anybody would be manipulated by money, I'm sure, depending on how many zeros Milton's actually showing them from these quote unquote life insurance policies, wink, wink, that he's basically giving out. And, you know, if you, what sum of money would it take for you if you knew you had a terminal illness to actually go out and kill yourself and somebody else?
It really is an interesting premise because, again, the key is you're terminally ill. So you already know you're dying or you're going to die. So if someone came up to you and offered you a sum of money that you know would secure your family probably for the rest of their natural life, would you not do it even if you had to do something horrendous in order to make your family secure? It really is an interesting premise. And apparently our Blacklister, who goes by the code name The Undertaker, was doing quite well at this.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing it for quite a while. He was doing it not only in the States, but he was doing it in other countries. And whoever basically wanted to hire him and procure his services, he was really, you know, efficient in making sure that he could find the right people for the right jobs to do it the right way.
Yeah, and I love the way the show opened, again, more of along the lines of I know we're only in a first season, it's hard to call it a classic Blacklist opening, but that's really kind of what it was. We had this situation unfolding that we didn't know what was actually going on. It just opens with the lady getting in the cab. The driver kind of goes a little crazy, starts driving all erratic and everything. And we notice that he actually has a picture of the lady he just picked up taped to the dash. And then he proceeds to just ram the cab into the back end of a parked truck, and it all blows up and everybody dies.
I literally called foul right away. Totally, because he pulls up in the cab, right? And then he it sounded like the tires screeched their wheels to a stop. Like, I live in Chicago. I ride in a lot of cabs. Most of the time, the cab isn't screeching to a halt, pulling up to the stop to let you get into the cab. So when those tires screeched, I thought for sure something was a little wonky about this cab to begin with.
Yeah, that would probably be a warning sign. Maybe you shouldn't be getting in the back seat of it, huh?
And then you get to this apartment, and I'm trying to figure what the heck is hanging from the ceilings.
Yeah, and I still don't know, because my first reaction was like salamis, because that's how they hang meat when you age it. You hang it for long periods of time, and it kind of had a salami shape to it. It really did. In close-ups, it looked more like, I don't know, like brush or something, like wheat, or I don't know what it was. I have no idea.
Yeah, which was really creeping me out, because then as the opening scene kind of progressed, he starts cutting up mushrooms, and I'm like, okay, so maybe this guy's growing some kind of drug, some kind of medicinal thing, and what is he doing with it? And then he makes this smoothie, and then he starts stripping down layer after layer after layer of clothing, and I'm like, okay, we got another stew maker on our hands here. Something creepy's going on. And then he's got all the sores on his body, and I thought, okay, is he cutting himself off and making his own meat? Because that would be disgusting. That's literally what ran through my head. I was
like, little human jerky going on, huh?
Oh, no.
But the ultimate creep out in the scene you're describing is when he physically removes his nose.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Harry.
A whole nose, and he flops it like most people put their dentures in a glass jar next to them.
Yep.
The dude puts his nose in a glass jar.
So the real question is, does he use a neti pot to clean that out?
A pipe cleaner? What would you use?
I don't know.
I don't know. It was definitely weird, and they do a rather disturbing lingering shot on the noseless man just kind of sitting there. We are not attractive creatures without our noses.
I feel bad for all the Harry Potter fans out there, because they just got spoiled that Voldemort has a brother.
I didn't even think of that, but he actually did resemble that, didn't he?
Absolutely. So let's head over and talk about Tom and Liz a little bit, because this is where we thought we were going to get a bunch of fun stuff this evening. I think they did a really great job having clever writing so that they could operate as if they were still a happily married couple, but yet their lines said 1,000 words just the way it was written.
Yeah, they really did. And this opening scene is just full of tension, and all it is Tom making pancakes for breakfast. But it's just so uncomfortable to watch them attempt to interact with one another. I agree. I thought they did a great job of doing the whole thing. And I thought they were going to go somewhere. Liz mentions in this segment that she's feeling wonky. I think that's the word she actually uses.
Yeah, she said wonky.
She's kind of staring off in space, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is Tom like poisoning her, or is he doing something? But they just kind of brush that off. They never come back to it again. So I thought that was kind of odd.
Well, she is one ticked off woman, I'll tell you that much. I mean, she gets punched in the face. She's got to live with this psycho. So what better way to get it out than just smash the heck out of your apartment?
Yeah. And that comes after Tom does a really off-the-wall thing and re-proposes to Liz. And he wants to have his vows. They want to have the vows renewed, or he wants to have the vows renewed. And once he leaves for work, she just rips the apartment apart. She's smashing dishes. She's knocking pictures off the walls. She went a little crazy.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I guess the whole, what is it? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So renewing your wedding vows makes total sense at the end of the day. But then she has to sit there and wonder, why is he doing this? Should I say yes? If I say no, what's he going to do if I say no? It's like, or if we just, oh, that's stupid. Why do we get, we haven't been married that long. Why do we got to, how would he react? So how does she operate in a normal kind of brain pattern without tipping him off?
Exactly. And again, it just adds to that whole feeling of unease. But we also find out that she apparently now has her own little headquarters set up somewhere. I'm not sure where this safe room is she has now, but she started her own Tom investigation unit.
Well, and the good thing about that is that people can, be a little bit more comfortable with Red not squatting in their houses anymore when they're on vacation, because now Red actually has a permanent place to go.
He's got some place he can hang now. And actually, he shows up in this very scene we're talking about here. He shows up, brought some stuff along. Well, he's brought some sandwiches, I guess, some grilled cheese and pimento sandwiches. But he's also brought along the surveillance tapes from our old friend, Mr. Apple Eater.
Yeah, and I love how Liz was like, ooh, the Apple Man.
Yeah. And again, she's really taking charge of these things. Red was playing some kind of mind games with her, and she just was like, look, I'm done. We're getting to the bottom of this right now. You're going to tell me what you know. Of course, he doesn't. But she does begin watching the tapes.
And the thing that's great about Red is that he keeps everything focused. He says, what we need to do right now is worry about Tom and who Tom works for. All the other answers will come out later. And for some reason, he just has that, he speaks and everybody just falls right in line.
Right.
And Liz
exactly.
totally
it does make sense. At the end, the truth will all be revealed. It's all tied together.
I love the one scene when they start moving into the people knocking off people, right? Was the lady at the gas pump. She kind of walks up there and I'm like, okay, most likely he's going to get lit on fire by the gasoline, but how is she actually going to, douse the guy without the guy actually noticing? And it was just very nonchalant, the camera angles, in order to get the pump to actually be there. And you didn't even hear the gasoline kind of dripping on the ground until he looks down. And then you start to hear kind of the splashes, and he's like, hey, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Yeah, and then she says something really odd. She says, please forgive me, I have a brother. And then lights him up like a bonfire.
Yeah. What would have been great, though, in that scene, and I was really hoping was going to happen, was as he catches fire, then she catches fire, and then I was waiting for the whole gas tank to just the whole place just to
yes.
Big Bill. That would have been great.
Yeah.
Make up for the small explosion we got at the beginning of the episode. So then we kind of figure out our Blacklist twist of the week to this episode, right? It's not so much that, we have people killing people that are wanting to kill themselves, but it's because all of these people are tied together in some fashion, as the Blacklist likes to do. And of course, all these people are terminally ill with something or another. But that wasn't even the biggest twist of the night. The biggest twist was the fact that Milton himself, our good old Blacklister, he is actually terminally ill himself as well. And that's why he has these sores and his disconnected nose and protein shakes that he's drinking, and as he sits under his tanning light to try to, I would guess, repair his skin, but I would assume that tanning only makes it worse.
Yeah, but I think he's definitely trying to prolong his life as much as he can. Obviously, the mushroom milkshakes or something must do something to help reverse the effects of whatever it is he's suffering from. And the thing that's really great about that too is that we see him working at this company, and we don't even put two and two together. That we assume he's just an assassin, right? So he's going through these files, and they just have pictures of him. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. He's getting a case file on somebody. He's an assassin. He'll take him out. And then it's not till like halfway through the episode that you realize that he's actually working at some kind of a company where he's actually stealing these files from. I thought that was a really great twist this evening. Yeah, he's kind of using the files, these files that are passing over his desk. That's how he's choosing his victims. He's actually able to get deeply into these people's lives, and that's how he's able to find out that they're terminally ill, how he's able to find out that, the families don't have much money, and, he's basically picking out the most vulnerable to carry out his strange plans. But you don't really get the tie-in until Wrestler's kind of like, aha, these people are terminally ill, and the reason why isn't because of the doctors or because of the pharmaceutical companies or anything. It's because they all have life insurance policies. From the same company that Milton works for. And we have the big reveal for the evening. Yeah, well, that the Wrestler and Liz actually head to the insurance company. And while they're talking to the guy, he's like, yeah, you know what? You really need to talk to Milton. Milton's the guy that handles all these things. And of course, Milton's already on the run. Milton seen him. He heard him talking out in the hall, and he beat hooves out of there. Well, and the real question is are the people that are wanting these people killed, right? So the people paying for the hit, are they completely financing the whole thing? Or is Milton really that good that he's also setting up
his family for life by the commissions he's getting from life insurance policies that these people are actually signing when they go to do the hit, right? So it's like partly funded by the insurance company and also partly funded from the person putting the hit out on the person.
Right. It's kind of the perfect plan, isn't it?
I would think so.
It works well.
But then, of course, at the end of the day, we find out what the real motivation is behind Milton and everything that he's been doing over the years and why his condition is the way it is. And it's because he was basically patient zero in a clinical trial to cure diabetes, of all things.
Yes, but from a Dr. Osborne. And it turns out that number of the last victims were all tied to this Dr. Osborne in some way. One was an assistant of some type. And, the list kind of went on. But I believe it was the last 3 or 4 victims were all tied to this Dr. Osborne. And now Milton is going after Dr. Osborne himself. It's time to take down the head guy. And Milton's left that job for himself.
And why do you think that is?
I think that was probably all part of his master plan. He knew he was dying. He was just taking them out one by one. I think his plan was always to take out the big guy himself. He was just biding time until the end was near for him.
So he basically wanted to make sure that when he was ready to go on his own terms, that he was going to be a suicide murderer.
Right. He was taking Osborne out with him, the Dr. Osborne out.
And of course, everybody arrives just in the nick of time. And I thought Wrestler this evening was actually really smart in the way he played that kind of approach and, trying to actually arrest him for no real reason in order to get him away from Milton.
Yeah. And again, in typical Blacklist fashion, they figure out Milton takes this doctor to a cemetery of all places. He's got a gun. He's got the doctor under gun, and he also reveals that he's wired himself with a bomb. But of course, how are Wrestler and them going to know that they're at a cemetery? And they quickly put 2 and 2 together. Let's see. Undertaker likes death. And he volunteers at the cemetery. So therefore, he must have taken the doctor to the cemetery that he volunteers at.
Totally.
And sure enough, that's where he is.
Go figure.
Amazing.
All within an hour.
Milton is going to take the doctor out. That's what he's there to do. Wrestler plays a perfect card by making it appear that he's arresting the doctor for the crimes he committed, the very crimes that Milton has been avenging, if you will, and manages to get the doctor away from Milton before he can detonate the bomb.
And I think that was actually almost poetic in a way because Milton sits there and goes, oh, maybe he is getting arrested for everything that he did to us, for doing these clinical trials and whatnot. And so he almost takes that as his calling card to go ahead and basically execute himself by blowing up the bomb.
Yeah, basically, Wrestler kind of gives Milton permission to go ahead and finish himself off.
So let's talk about our favorite red one-liners for tonight.
There was a lot of them tonight.
I know. Which one was the one that sticks out the most for you?
I think my favorite one, just because done in the deadpan way that James Spader does it, is the scene when Craig ejects himself out the window unexpectedly. Red's just standing there and he just goes, okay then. And you really got to kind of see it to appreciate it. But I really love that. It's really not even so much of a one-liner as it is just a reaction to something that has gone on. But I actually laughed out loud at that particular scene. I thought that was great.
He's like, well, that happened. Dembe, when you're done cleaning up here, don't forget to grab the pretzels.
Yes, he was obsessed with the yogurt pretzels tonight.
Fabulous. I love that they were watching the old videos there, just hanging out. Guys sitting in the bathroom. We were waiting for you. We just figured we'd pass the time.
That's the time eating some yogurt pretzels and watches the Stooges.
And I love that he's talking to his buddy there, and he's like, man, I really need you to get this fingerprint off this glass. And he's talking to her. He's like, I'm sorry that I had an affair with your wife. He's like, okay, make it up to me by giving me the house. And he's like, why are you insisting on still going after the woman? Fine, take the house. I don't care. Just give me the fingerprint.
And that was kind of interesting. I wonder if that is real technology when you're speaking of that, because Liz invites Tom's brother in for she surprises Tom by moving ahead with the vow ceremony. Tom comes home from work and she's got this whole thing all set up. The friends are all there. And also, Tom's brother, Craig, is there. But it was all just a big setup, I think, so she could get Craig's fingerprints on a glass, which is what Red takes to this doctor in the thing you were just talking about. But he mentions that they can actually get DNA off of fingerprints now, because obviously you would leave some skin when you touch things. You think that's true? You think that's something they can do?
At this point in time with technology, I mean, I'm talking to you on a telephone over the internet. That's not really a telephone. So
anything is possible, huh?
You know, but I think that was really a clever move too, was to move this up and basically take the battle, if you will, to Tom and kind of beat him at his own game. So it's like, fine, you want to renew your vows? We'll do them on my terms. Let's go. And of course, Craig was the real nice addition for this episode because we get to meet Tom's quote unquote brother, which is really more like comrade, you know, in this little Berlin conspiracy group that they have. And then, of course, Craig's giving like all the dirt out, you know, yep, we know about Berlin and we know that there is an actual real brother that Tom has and there's some girl named Nikki. So, of course, we get a little bit of things to go on for future episodes before Craig decides, yeah, you know, swan diving's fun.
Well, Red's going to press him for information on Berlin because when Tom calls in to check on Craig and he said Tom is the one that says it, he says, I'm the one that's responsible to Berlin. And Red immediately perks up and he's like, what's in Berlin? What's going on in Berlin? And Craig's like, I can't tell you. I mean, obviously he would rather die than tell him what is in Berlin because he jumps out the window, ends his own life just so he doesn't have to be tortured and spill the beans. And on whatever this Berlin connection is.
Right. And if you go by the, you know, producers, showrunners are showing us things on screen for a reason, you know, Berlin is really part of this master plan at the end of the day because Red touches Liz's board and moves stuff around like we've seen Red do before with a crime scene board back in the early episodes of the Blacklist. And he puts Berlin right there square at top center. So you know that Berlin is going to be a key piece in this entire investigation when it all is said and done.
Right. And the other key piece we got in this was actually a key. Throughout the episode as Liz is watching the Apple Eater tapes, she notices Tom fiddling with a lamp. And so she goes home and undoes the lamp, and in the lamp she finds a key. She doesn't know what the key is. She actually asks Craig about it before he jumps out before the window, and he's not talking about the key either. But it's obvious the key is of major importance in the story. And we never do in this episode find out what it's about, but it's also up there on Lizzie's board.
Well, since we don't find out, I guess we'll go ahead and speculate because that's what we love to do here at TV Talk. So our talkback question this week, what does the key open? And more importantly, is it the key to the whole mystery? I think that'll be interesting. Well be. But not before Tom wants some nookie before we head out for the evening.
Yeah. Well, and again, in great fashion, the last scene is Liz and Tom at home, and Liz is like, hey, why don't you call your brother up and we'll go grab some lunch? And she knows he's laying squash at the bottom of after jumping out the window. And Tom's like, oh, he had to leave unexpectedly. He's not here. And she's like, oh, he's so unlike you. And then Tom says, well, hey, we got some private time now and we are newlyweds.
Yep, got to renew those vows for real.
Bow chicka bow wow.
Oh man,
how uncomfortable would that be? Talk about sleeping with the enemy.
Yep, great music though. Again, this evening from the Blacklist, of course. Tom Odell's "Can't Pretend" as we roll towards the end of the episode. Again, you can get all of the music from the Blacklist, obviously, on iTunes. Great stuff, as always. So we want to remind you that the show's not done yet. We do have those talk back clips coming up next. You could be featured in that spot as long as you use the TV Talk app. Head on over to tvtalkapp.com from your iOS or Android device. Get the app, record your thoughts on anything, not just the talkback question, which again is what is the key for, and is it the key to the entire mystery? And also be sure to head on over to tvtalk.com and you can listen to those talkback clips and the show while you're on the go.
And while you're doing all that surfing around, make sure you head on over to viggle.com/tvtalk for that special offer. And also leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Just let everybody know how much you love TV Talk the Blacklist.
And the show's not done yet. Again, those clips are coming up next. Go deeper into the mystery of the Blacklist with other fans just like you. We'll talk at you next week. Until then, I'm Troy.
And I'm Dave, fake baking it while enjoying yogurt pretzels and mushroom shakes, keeping myself off the Blacklist.
And now it's time for this week's Talkback Clips.
We hope you enjoyed this special version of the Blacklist Exposed, previously aired on the TV Talk Network and used with permission. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.